Howdy y'all, we've got another battle report for you today. We're going to look at a game I played recently. It was Seraphon versus Living Cities. So you can see my list over here. We're trying out some of the new Seraphon book, so we got to run it through all the paces. So today we are taking Thunder Lizard in Coalesced. So it's my favorite right now. I really like the Stegadons. This one I'm mixing it up. I'm trying out the Bastiladons before they get FAQ'd. They've got that one-up save, and in Thunderquake and in Thunder Lizards, you can fire them twice with a command point. So that's what we're going to try today. We're going to play against my buddy's Living City list. So we can see my list over here. I don't have his list. I'll try to remember it as best I can. And we'll go through that in a second. So my list, I start off with the Stegadon with Skink Chief. Gave him the command trait, Prime Warbeast, because you have to in Thunderquake. But it's actually a good one for him. It gives all his mounts, which is a Stegadon, which is all the good attacks, +1 to their attacks. So you're gonna try to pump those up as high as you can. You get +1 from here. You get +1 for his jaws, and he has a command trait that can give him another +1. Also, Thunderquake can give him a +1 to attacks. So you can get a lot of attacks coming out of this Skink Chief. So this is kind of my my turn 1 missile. You know, I'm gonna shoot this thing up the field as fast as I can and put the buffs on him, send him on his way, cause some havoc. His artifact, I gave him the Sacred Stegadon Helm that increases his save by 1, and then the rider gets +1 attacks +1 damage, +1 damage if you charge. Not too worried about that second part. What I really want is that artifact for the +1 to save, because the Stegadon in combat against 5 or less models gets another +1 to save. So with that Stegadon Helm given another +1 to save, he's at a 2-up in combat against the right units. And I'm taking some Skink Priests in this list, so they're going to point their little sticks at this guy and give him another +1 to his save. So hopefully we can get the Stegadon to a 1-up save to go along with our 2 Bastiladons that are 1-up save. Our Engine of the Gods, I had to give him the artifact Fusil of Conflaguration, whatever that is. Honestly, this artifact I forget about when I play with it. In the shooting phase, if there's somebody within 12 inches, you can roll a dice. On a 1, it destroys itself. On a 2 or 3 or 4, nothing happens. Maybe on a 4 or 5, you get D3 mortals, and on a 6, D6 mortals. So it has a chance to do something awesome, but also a chance to do nothing, to blow itself up. So, but you have to take it in Thunderquake, so I put that on Engine. He's going to be my support guy for a little while, but he's also not too bad in combat. So I'm going to be sending him into combat when I can. Kind of maybe that second wave. Also taking Lord Kroak. He's going to be my caster. He's got 4 casts. He's going to take Stellar Tempest in case I come up against a Horde. Playing against Living Cities, I didn't. There wasn't really too much Horde here, so he's gonna just try to be passing around some buffs when he can. Do his board wide spell. He's so tough, and he gives you a lot of command points. So that's the reason I like taking him. 320 points. He's only 60 more points than the normal Slan, and he can do a lot more. He's a lot more survivable too. I'm taking 2 Skink Priests, which at first glance probably don't make too much sense in this list, but I'm just trying to pass out that +1 to save to the Skink keyworded items like the Stegadon and the Engine. I want those 2 things to have a +1 to save when they can. You can also give it to the Bastiladons who are Skink keyworded. So if one gets bracketed, you can give him another +1 to save to get him back down to 1-up save if you want to. They're just nice little heroes that are only 70 points. They have a good command ability. They have a great staff ability. They're quick. So 70 points, I mean, that's pretty awesome. I mean, that staff, it gives them +1 to save, and they can run and charge and shoot. So that thing right there is amazing. So my plan was to put definitely at least one of them, or put one of them on the Steggy Cheif so I can send him out first turn. And then I can flip the Thunderquake to the attacks so that I don't have to use it for the run and charge. And then probably put the other one on a Bastiladon just so he can run and shoot if I need to get in range to shoot something. So that was kind of the plan. We've got some Skink Battlelines because I'm not taking any Stegadons as Battlelines, so I needed 3 Battlelines. So I got my 3 Skinks for bodies. And then I'm taking 12 Razordons, which I'm just taking those because I have them. You have to have one of those in Thunderquake. Salamanders are better, but I don't have any Salamanders. So I'm taking Razordons. If presented the target, they're not too bad to run and shoot and then charge. So if you can flip Thunderquake and run and shoot and charge them, because then you'll get to shoot in your shooting phase and then shoot again in your own charge phase when you charge somebody. So until that gets FAQ'd, might as well get to shoot twice in your turn with those guys. If you can find a nice juicy target, something preferably that's not going to hit back too hard when they get to combat, because you will lose some, and you'll lose some to Battle Shock, unfortunately. I got my 2 1-up Bastiladons. Pre-FAQ. We'll see if that survives, what that looks like afterwards, but as they're kitted out, they're only going to fail on unmodified 1s until they get bracketed. So that's the plan, is to switch the Kroak over to his healing spell turn 2 if you need to, and heal up those Bastiladons as needed. So that was my list. We're going to play... I cannot remember the name of this one right now, but it's the one that has 3 objectives on each side, and then you can burn them for the different... I've got the picture on here somewhere. Let me see if I can find that. Oh, yeah, okay. Better Part of Valor is what that was called. So you can burn, starting turn 2, you can burn one of the objectives as needed. And so that makes it pretty useful if you're playing a lot of movement. I don't have a lot of movement, and he does. So his Living City list has quite a bit of movement. I think, if I remember right, he had Durthu with Gerstrike. He had a Dreadlord on Black Dragon, 6 Paladors, some Sisters of the Watch, and then 3 units of Rangers, and Nomad Prince and a Battle Mage. Yes. Along with the Living City Battalion, and the Dreadlord had the Strike First Artefact. Okay, I got it. So I don't have the first picture of deployment, but what it basically looked like is he put a unit of Rangers here on his objective, a unit of Rangers here, and a unit of Rangers here. And then he put his 2 Nomad Prince and his Battle Mage right there on that middle objective. And so everything else was off the board. Most of his power was off the board. He let me go first, and that was fine, because with that stuff that was in range, with those Rangers, I was fairly certain I could get my Skink Chief across the board and make a charge into one of his objectives, and probably clear the Rangers that were there, but most importantly, just put pressure on him to where he'd have to drop stuff onto his own zone, and he couldn't bring all of that stuff into my territory. So I'm just trying to put pressure on his side. I'll use up my Skink Chief. Hopefully he'll be at a 1, and we'll see what goes from there. So turn 1, I've got a picture. We'll start looking at the pictures here. I've got some pictures that show... this was after my turn 1, so this was the first picture I got, unfortunately. But you can kind of see my deployment. I put my Razordons over here on this one, and I did that because I knew he was probably going to be bringing something off the edge, and he's going to have to charge into those Razordons, and they'll get to shoot. Hopefully we can clear, or maybe not clear, but at least bracket whatever he's sending at me. I have Kroak here and some Skinks. I think Kroak was originally over this way a little bit more. I can't remember. My Engine of the Gods on my first turn, I ended up getting summons. So that was pretty nice. I brought in those 10 warriors there. And we've got our skink lines back here. I'm just guarding the table edge. I don't want anything coming in from behind here with his dragon or his paladors or his shooters. And I'm sending these 2 Bastiladons up this way to create a force that he's going to have to deal with here. I was basically able to shoot off all but, I think, 2 of these Rangers. And this Skink Chief... he got blessed by the staff from the little Skink Priest guy, and he took off running this way. Got a good run, got an excellent charge, and basically deleted all of the Rangers that were here. So that Stegadon is on a 1-up right now in combat versus 5 or less models, 2-up otherwise, and has taken out a lot of what was here. I also killed most of these Rangers that were here with the crossbows, and it may have been the extra shooting here. I had enough command points. I was able to activate both of those Bastiladons twice, so that was nice. And then this Stegadon made an excellent charge up there. I can't remember if I activated this guy twice. I may have activated the engine twice too. I was burning through command points like crazy, but it's worth it trying to get those summons, because if you can get the summons, it's a free 100 points right there with the warriors. Please ignore the white. I'm working on painting them now, so we got some paint on them now. So that was my turn 1. Now into his turn 2. We'll see what pictures we got. So I don't score any points this turn because you can't burn him yet, but I'm successfully just trying to put pressure here. He's lost basically everything that holds his objectives. He doesn't have many guys left back there, so I know he's got to dedicate something back there, or I'm gonna get back into his back lines on the next turn and cause some harm. On his turn, you can see he brings in the Durthu here, which is 9 inches away from these guys. He brings in his 6 Paladors, the Dreadlord right here. There's just a nice little pocket of 9 inches here that he could bring in everything behind that Stegadon, but in front of these Razordons. And then he's got Sisters of the Watch kind of tucked back in this little pocket here. And so he's got his major power right there. That may be everything that he had. I can't remember. He may have had the Lantern Guy, I think. Lantern Guy may ended up dropping back here to give him some extra punch against that Stegadon. So he does some shooting. In Living Cities, you can shoot. And, if you shoot in your turn, you can use a command point to then move. So these guys that are coming in at 9, they're not going to have to make a 9-inch charge because he can shoot and then command point move. His full Durthu's like 5 inches or something, not much, but it makes for a lot easier charge. Same for these Paladors and these dragons. The dragon, I don't think he had enough command points. I think his adjunt, whatever it's called, for Living Cities, didn't get him an extra command point, so he only had 2, so he could only move 2 guys. And I can't remember if he ended up saving 1 for an extra charge or something. I don't remember, but so he's charging in. Let's see what our next picture is. Oh, a nice blurry picture of his group. Stuff looks awesome painted. Right there you can't tell, but his stuff is really well painted. Ooh, okay, so here's what happened. This picture is a little bit later. So as you can see from this picture, he brings in Durthu and just whiffs so hard. I couldn't believe it. Durthu, it was hitting on 2s and 2s or 3s and 3s, or whatever it is. It should do quite a bit of damage, and it was like all 1s. He killed off quite a few of the handlers, enough to where they actually battle shocked afterwards, but they were able to shoot quite a bit at Durthu after the charge phase, and then they were able to pile in and attack. And they're not too bad in their attacks, especially with Thunderquake when they have extra attacks. So each one had 4 attacks, and they could do D3 damage, I think. So with some decent rend. So I think the Paladors failed the charge. This Dreadlord got into the Stegadon, and we had an epic battle up there because he wasn't really doing much, honestly. But he put enough mortals from the Sisters to take out quite a bit of his wounds. And then he wasn't able to punch back at all. So he got down pretty low, and then the Dreadlord took him down to 1 wound left. So he had 1 wound left, just barely saved him, kept him alive. And that will turn out to be critical in the next turn. So after that, I get the double turn. Or not the double turn. I get the priority in turn 2. So I went first, he went second, then I got priority in turn 2. And so that right there was fairly important because I was able to, his Durthu was still alive over here, and I was able to retreat my Razordon. Actually, I think we killed Durthu in the magic phase, I think, because we had Kroak right here, and he was within range to just spell him to death, I believe. And so I brought my Razordon up here and basically just blocked out these Paladors so that they'll have to kind of move around him if they needed to. I retreated this Stegadon up here so that he was still within 6 of the objective, and the Dreadlord was not, and this Lantern Guy was not. So I was within 6 of that objective up there, and I was able to burn that one. And then I burned mine down here in this turn because he just had too many bodies that he could put pressure on from here. So I burned those 2 objectives. And now Joseph only had these 2, and I had these 2 here. So I'm up 2 points on him. Actually, 4 points, I guess, in that one. If you burn it, and you've held them 2 turns, which I had because I had gotten this one that my first turn, then you get 2 points when you burn it. So I got 4 points that turn. That Stegadon surviving by 1 life, 1 health, earned me 2 points there. So that was pretty big. I think I had flipped Thunderquake over to run and shoot, and so I was able to get this Bastiladon over here pretty far and start shooting on these Paladors. This one, I backed up just a little bit. I think I may have shot off the rest of his Rangers, and I just backed this one up to protect this objective in case he had something else. I can't remember. Maybe just in case his dragon decided to fly over that way, because he's real fast. He can cross the board as long as he has a target to shoot, and then he can move again. I did get another summons from the engine. I activated this Bastiladon twice, I believe, and then the engine twice, just to make sure that I could get that extra summons. So now, instead of having basically what would have been just like 2 small screens of Skinks, now I've got 4 screens, and 20 of them are warriors, which are a little bit tougher than the Skinks. So that engine came in critical. It did take me, 4 activations to get in the 2 summons, so it's not always a guarantee. It's kind of hard to get sometimes, but when it goes through, it's pretty critical. It's really good to get those summons from that thing. So in his turn, so that was my turn. I burned 2 of his objectives. Let's see what the next picture is. So his turn, he's coming crashing down. He kind of avoids this Razordon here, and he's bringing these Paladors towards that Bastiladon. His plan, I think, was to try to get some mortals from the sisters onto there, and if he can clear that Bastiladon, then it's just a matter of how many turns does it take him to go through my screens, and what can I do against it. So he crashes into this Palador, the Paladors into that guy. He takes out the Stegadon. It may have been with the Lantern guy. Maybe he did the exploding lantern. I don't remember how he killed him, but he just did 1 mortal. It was fairly easy to take him out. But he had already served his purpose, created a lot of pressure, made him deploy stuff back there, and stole an objective. So, well done, Steggy Cheif. So he brings those Paladors in, and I don't think they did much. Let's see what that next picture is. He was able to get some wounds onto it, and I failed some. And I think he went down. It looks like he went down 7. He may end up killing this Bastiladon. But it lasted that turn, kept it going, so that was the important thing. The real hero, oh yes, now I remember this. The real hero was this line of Skinks. I don't know how, but this line of Skinks held up for 2 turns. It's just 10 Skinks on bravery of 5. So it was pretty crazy. He put most of these attacks into the Bastiladon. He only put 1 here. But this dragon came in. And the dragon was bracketed a little bit. But just totally whiffed. They may have killed like 2 or 3 Skinks or something. Whatever it was not much. Sometimes, no matter how well you have a plan, your dice fail you. And that's kind of what happened here. His dragon should have done more damage here, and just could not clear those Skinks. He did get the double. Man, I skipped far ahead in this picture. So he got the turn from 2 to 3, and that's when he was finally able to clear off that 1 line of Skinks. And he was able to kill that Bastiladon. But at this point, I had, on my turn, I knew I was going to be able to strike back. So I brought my other Bastiladon over here. We shot off more Paladors, and then I pumped up this engine right here and slammed it into his dragon. And if I can attack first, I'm going to kill that dragon because it only has a 4-up save. He has to take the version with the crossbow, not the shield, so that he can do the extra move stuff in living cities. So I pumped that Stegadon up with some buffs and sent him straight in. Killed the dragon pretty easy there. I don't even think he needed all the attacks. And then we may have not killed. I think we didn't kill that 1 Palador. We got him down to 1 Palador with that Bastiladon there. Maybe fired twice. And then we've still got so many bodies back here. It's going to be hard for him to take this stuff. He just doesn't have enough units. He has, a couple Sisters of the Watch there, the Lantern guy, and then 2 heroes, and maybe 1 Ranger over here. So at that point, it's just he doesn't have enough. And so That may have been the last thing. Oh, yep, there's our scoreboard. So we ended the game there. We shook hands. It was we would have both burned our own objectives at the end of the game for 16 points each, and would have won by those 4 points from turn 2. So this game type can be a little frustrating, you know, especially if you don't get that first priority roll. So when they fixed this one a little bit from the previous General's Handbook to where you can't burn at turn 1 at least, because that was always horrible. That was a horrible feeling if you just get alpha striked and then your objective's burned. So now it's turn 2, which is a little bit better, but it hinges so much on that first turn priority, because I was able to put pressure on that with that Stegadon and burn his and burn mine, and then it was, I'm just going to hold on to mine, summon stuff here, make you come fight me, and I'll kill you with my Bastiladons and Stegadon. So good game. It was, I think so much of it hinged there on that first turn priority. Who got turn 2 and who got to burn stuff first, because if it was him, he would have killed my Stegadon, so he would have had all 3, and then my movement would have been severely hampered, because I can run and charge with the Bastiladon still, but they're not exactly going to take out a ton of stuff in melee, so I would have had to send in the Stegadon with the engine, which he's still good. I mean, it's a good hero. It took out his dragon, but I kind of want to hang that back to summon as much as I can first before I commit it. So, but good game. So we got a major win for Thunderquake with 2 Stegadons and 2 Bastiladons. Not too shabby. Got 2 summons out of that. That makes me happy. Kroak did well. He worked pretty well as kind of like almost a counter striker. And so if you build it to where you're like trying to push out his range as much as possible, that's one option, but you got to spend a lot on it. Another option is to sit him behind those screens, use his board wide stuff, use some of his buffing things, and then when somebody charges charges your screens, you hit him back in your turn with 4 damage spells right into him. And so you can do a lot of damage with that way. And especially because by your turn, you can pump it around to where he's getting an extra, +2 to his casting. And so you can get those casts down pretty good. So a lot of fun. Loving Seraphon so far. I've got another battle report coming where we play a lot more skink hordes. So that one's an interesting play as well. So let me know, what lists have you been playing in Seraphon? What have you been liking? You going heavy monsters? I want to try a full Stegadon or a full Saurus warrior, like a Sunclaw in Kotal's Claw list. I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't have the models yet though. All my stuff is Skinks. I've got 100 Skinks, a bunch of monsters, so that's kind of what I've been playing towards. All right, y'all have a good one.